I know in this world where a lot of companies are really anchored on the metrics around raising capital, it's easy to lose sight who you're building for. Big players in this space, their revenue model is essentially based on taking a percentage of every invoice that goes through the system.
2026, as B2B SaaS companies struggle with fragmented tools and percentage-based pricing, a new wave of infrastructure is emerging. One that scales with your team, not your bank account.
I think being able to control our own destiny, the pace of growth, has been a big factor in us sort of building a highly interconnected suite of products and serving our customers well.
Hello everyone, this is Kripa Anand and welcome to the She and Success podcast, powered by She and Success Business Magazine, a platform dedicated to spotlighting the voices, strategies and journeys of women leaders and entrepreneurs who are shaping Canada's business and policy landscape. Today we are exploring the world of untaxed revenue growth. In 2026, as B2B SaaS companies struggle with fragmented tools and percentage-based pricing, a new wave of infrastructure is emerging, one that scales with your team, not your bank account. Joining us today is Ruchi Varshney, co-founder and COO at Measure. With a high-octane background leading engineering at Dropbox in Silicon Valley, Ruchi has pivoted to building a self-funded revenue engine right here in Canada. She is a leadership coach and an investor who is now on a mission to automate billing, contracts, and commissions without the SaaS tax. So before further ado, let's welcome this special guest. Ruchi, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So am I. Now, Ruchi, you spent years in the hearts of Silicon Valley running engineering at Dropbox before deciding to build your own venture in Canada. So let's start the conversation by understanding what major key lessons from Dropbox helped you build a lean and competitive startup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like Dropbox has been a very formative experience for my career. And I think one of the biggest things that Dropbox really honed in on and has sort of been ingrained in me is this relentless focus on customers and building great product for them. I know in this world where a lot of companies are really anchored on the metrics around raising capital, it's easy to lose sight of who you're building for. And I think where being a lean and sort of mean machine is to be really focused on your customers and building a really, really great product for them.
Wow. I think taking that big tech engineering discipline and applying it to a leaner startup model is exactly how you outpace a VC-backed, competitor. That's great. Now, let's explore the advantages of a self-funded growth strategy. So, Ruchi, why did you choose to stay self-funded, and how has that shaped your journey so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the major decisions that we went through was sort of the space we were going into. Revenue management and billing and invoicing is an old space. There are some very big players in the market, and also there is now this big world of AI generated sort of experiences. There's token based billing. There's credits and agents everywhere. And it's sort of a combination of this old world that is not ready for this new world of AI and agentic billing. And then you have this new world where things are changing so fast, where, a promise to sort of build with a, VC-backed sort of background becomes tricky. Yeah. And so in having experiences that were Silicon Valley based, it would have been a very easy choice for us as a founding team to go raise a bunch of capital and make it work that way. But I think what it really has helped us do is, again, stay grounded to our customers, stay grounded to the product that needs to be built, and also sort of evolve and react quickly to where the market's heading.
Right.
So I think as part of our strategy, we're also sort of taking a highly fragmented space of tools, which is around contracts, around pricing and billing, around, revenue and forecasting oriented products, where us building a suite of products takes time, and it also requires validation at every step. So I think being able to control our own destiny, the pace of growth, has been a big factor in us sort of building a highly interconnected suite of products and serving our customers well.
Very well articulated, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners, women specifically, will take a lot of inspiration from this.
Absolutely.
Because specifically when we talk about business in today's day and age, getting investments and funding, I think it has been more of a trend in sort of a
Yeah,
way, right? When you
absolutely.
open LinkedIn or Instagram, there's just so much happening, so much noise that you kind of feel left behind. And in that scenario, when you're choosing to, consciously stay self-funded, it's a big decision. So kudos to your choice and for what you're doing, Ruchi. Also, I think prioritizing profitability and customer needs over investor demands, it gives you a level of strategic freedom that most startups never experience.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing. Now, let's look at rethinking revenue infrastructure without any hidden costs. So, Ruchi, how does your infrastructure pricing model eliminate the revenue tax for SaaS companies out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of just like a high level background of how a lot of revenue products work today, is they take a percentage of your revenue. So, big players in this space like Stripe and ChargeBee and a few other players, their revenue model is essentially based on taking a percentage of every invoice that goes through the system, of every feature that they enable. So if they enable a finance reporting feature, they take another 0.5, then they take another 0.2. And so it is something that, stacks up pretty quickly. And by the time you have deployed the finance product for of up and coming business, you're giving a good 10% away of all of your revenue to the revenue platform. But ultimately, the job of billing and invoicing your customers and making sure your finances sort of by the books is an operational job, right? It is something in its essence that should be extremely predictable, extremely sort of price sensitive and effective for the business. And in fact, the buyer of such products like RevOps and finance care deeply about that efficiency and operational goals that they have when it comes to being cost conscious. So it is definitely a very different spin on how revenue products today exist and charge their customers. But essentially, it should just feel like a product that is known to get its job done. It's known that, it is not going to eat into your growth disproportionately, and is there for a long time, is stable and effective.
Again, very well articulated. I think removing that friction, financial friction from core operations, it allows companies to focus on what they're good at, the strategic part, right? Building great products rather than managing their own software bills. So that's a great reminder. To the SaaS founders and RevOps teams watching, in 2026, why are you still paying a tax on your own success? Every time you close a bigger deal, your billing provider shouldn't be getting a raise. Ruchi and the team at Measure have built a connected system that handles your contracts, invoices, and commissions as one single source of truth. With their V2 launch and new PLG motions, they are proving that a lean, self-funded Canadian team can build better tech than the giants out there. Stop the spreadsheet chaos and stop paying a percentage of your hard-earned revenue. Visit measure.com and start scaling your operations, not your costs. It's time for a quick break right here, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Ruchi and explore the realities of modern leadership and building a business on your own terms.
At Purolator, we understand the importance of every delivery, whether it's a document, a special gift, a critical healthcare shipment, or an entire warehouse worth of inventory. Throughout our more than 60-year history, we've honed our expertise to build out a powerful portfolio of logistics services that enable us to deliver on every promise. Whether shipping across town or around the globe, from small and medium-sized businesses to industrial, technology, retail, and healthcare sectors, Purolator serves a diverse array of customers. So no matter what, where, or when you're shipping, Purolator's expertise, experience, and innovative solutions enable us to deliver on your promises.
Welcome back to the She and Success podcast. Let's jump right back into our conversation with Ruchi Varshney as we discuss leadership, resilience, and scaling a company in today's fast-changing world. Leading modern teams in a remote-first environment, because ever since COVID-19, a lot of shift has happened wherein everyone has just gotten more there's this acceptance of remote work that has started. So everyone has a different definition of what a team culture is, what leadership looks like, right? So from your perspective and your extensive experience, Ruchi, how do you balance leadership, parenting, and running a lean company? Because as women, we are often wearing so many hats, and motherhood is also one of the biggest hats that we wear, right? So
100%, yeah.
how do you, what's your secret, I'd say, to maintaining that balance?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's always an evolving piece of work and a big focus as a leader for a company that you're trying to, sort of grow and keep together, and having people who join the team feel like they're part of something bigger and a part of a family. Certainly, a big part of the learnings around just remote culture and environment was, again, Dropbox was a huge inspiration there. Dropbox went fully remote during COVID, and it became an essential requirement for leaders to start to think about how that ecosystem evolves, how does the team evolve, how do goals get done
Right.
in that environment. And so I would say, like, certainly focusing on remote culture, creating avenues where you can sort of end up in these like serendipitous hallway chats and things like that become trickier. They're harder to achieve, but you almost have to really overcompensate for creating environments where the relationships between employees
Right.
aren't just transactional, like, oh, I need to get this job done. Can you check my work? It's easy to go down and become very transactional as a company, but it takes such an effort sort of above and beyond to, have team culture build up in a way where there's transparency, there's deeper communication, there's over communication. There are, light moments where people are getting a chance to hang out maybe on a Friday afternoon or play a game together. And the lucky thing for us is like a good part of our team is centered in the GTA. And so we do have a bit of a luxury of sort of saying, hey, let's get the team together once a month or once every quarter, and sort of rebuild those bonds that are sort of achieved in 3D, which you don't get when you're sort of face to face on a Zoom call.
Definitely. That's a very interesting perspective because what you said, you're overcompensating almost for not being there physically, right?
Absolutely.
And sometimes there is also taxing when you're working, focusing on that, and also have to maintain that balance, right? So great that you've been doing that so amazingly well. Now, finally, look at applying AI where it truly adds value, because artificial intelligence is no longer even a buzzword anymore. It's literally everywhere. So when we talk about your business and you, where do you personally, add AI into your operational workflows to add most value at measure?
Yeah, absolutely. And as a small team, that means even more. We are constantly sort of thinking about how to make our operations more efficient. Where are situations where we can sort of either replace or, delay hiring a person by having more agentic workflows sort of built into our onboarding, our support,
Right.
our product development cycles, and also certainly parts of our product, right? So I would say that like operational efficiency with AI is definitely on top of mind for us in general, but also I would say every company out there where they're continuing to sort of evolve and I think more than anything, less so about like, okay, let's cut employees or anything. it comes down to actually automating the mundane parts of people's jobs
Right.
and then leveraging people for their brains and strategy value and making work actually more enjoyable for them, right? Where, answering the same ticket or answering the same question over and over again, is super mundane. It's not inspiring, and it's not something that people want to wake up to every day.
Yeah.
And so I would say in terms of a focus, that is like the ultimate starting point of get rid of all the mundane and sort of non-inspiring parts of the job that people do, and then leverage their capacity and their sort of mind share on things that are far more strategic and far more valuable to the company than the mundane jobs.
That's a beautifully well balanced answer, and I completely agree with you. I think if you remove the repetitive tasks, out of the workflow, then the human brain can actually focus on the innovating, the business development, the strategic part of it.
100%.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing better than that when you feel that sense of empowerment that you have that time all by yourself just to focus on that part now and not just copy pasting or doing that repetitive task.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I'm loving this conversation, Ruchi, and definitely I'd love for you to be back, hopefully, for a deeper discussion that we do the next time.
Yeah.
But before we let you go, I'd like to touch on a couple of things. When we talk about women in business specifically, Ruchi, they are contributing equal to the economy, right? If not more. But when it comes to recognition or having the equitable opportunities, we are still lagging behind a lot. There's still change, of course. I've stopped saying that women have stopped asking for a seat at the table. They are creating their own tables, right? That is my go-to sentence. So from your perspective, I'm sure you also have walked down into rooms where, male-dominated rooms, basically,
course,
where
yeah.
there are no people like you,
Yeah.
or not just from, the different cultural background, but also no women in the room. So in situations like this, what goes on in your mind and how do you kind of deal with it?
No, that's a great question. And I think as and when you go up the leadership chain, you're in rarer and rarer atmosphere when it comes to having people who are like you in the mix. Um, I would say like a big part of it is to, again, not to sort of second guess your abilities. That is something that, I have mentally had to work through a lot. And this is probably something that every woman in leadership says, right? Where they've had to get over their own securities, their own sort of demons, if you will, to just assume that they are there. They have that confidence, they have the backing, and they have the background to make tough calls, to present their ideas in the same way. And I think really, if the more we do to sort of help women in their early stages of career to build that level of confidence and not come into it underconfident, is a big part of just like getting more and more women in that rarer atmosphere.
Definitely, I think when women lift each other up,
Absolutely.
beautiful things happen, right?
Yeah.
And women also have this imposter syndrome where if we achieve something, we go into self-doubts ourselves that, was it just me or the actual work?
Yeah.
But that's great, Ruchi. Now, finally, before you leave, I'd like for you to leave our listeners with the final piece of advice, specifically to the founders choosing between VC funding and bootstrapping. If you could whisper one thing into their ears, what would you say and why?
Yeah, I would certainly say that, bootstrapping may not be for everybody. It is something that needs to be a very conscious choice. There are ideas that deserve VC backing, right? Like you would not have an Uber or a Facebook exist without a huge amount of VC backing. It is a innovative sort of out there idea that sort of moonshot ideas that do need that kind of capital for execution and that level of confidence. But there are also there's also this realm of like smaller ideas and more focused ideas that actually don't require that kind of funding,
Right.
and are actually well served with the kind of flexible paths that you end up with as you're bootstrapping. So for example, you could still choose to raise. There's no stopping that. You can make sure that you have viability in your idea before you go make that raise. And you can certainly also just go down the path and, be profitable, make a really sustainable business, and, make super happy employees and teams in the company without needing that sort of big chunk of cash, right? So there's all paths to it, and I wouldn't say like bootstrapping's the way or VCs are not the way to go. I think it's just deserving of the idea that it matters on.
You've beautifully explained that, because every business is different and what every business needs is also different. So you've also kind of reminded us that the best funding comes from happy paying customers out there, right? So Ruchi, thank you so much for being here and doing this with us.
No, I really appreciate the time. Thanks for having me.
All right, that was Ruchi Varshney from Measure, a masterclass in self-funded growth, the future of revenue operations, and why billing in Canada is a massive competitive advantage in 2026. To all the listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the She and Success podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more expert insights and visit sheandsuccess.ca for more such resources. A very special thank you to our exclusive shipping partner, Purolator, for their ongoing commitment to supporting women entrepreneurs and helping them build, grow, and lead successful businesses across Canada. I'll see you all in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.